In this video, I'm gonna go over the essentials you need, not just for your track saw, but for your track saw guide rails, and the whys and why nots.
Sedge, when should I change my splinter guard?
When you are unsatisfied with the quality of cut, cross-cutting plywood.
Okay.
And I'll show you.
Sounds good.
So we have this set up to cut, and when I say cross grain on that plywood, I mean against the grain, because what happens is this splinter guard here is supporting the fiber from rising. So let's see what the cut is and see if we're satisfied with it.
All right.
So let's look at this.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull this back. Okay, now, from the naked eye, it looks okay, but hopefully Chris can get in there. See how I have little nicks here? Mm-hmm. Okay, that means my splinter guard is worn. So let's change it.
Let's do it.
Okay, Big D, I'm going to have you pull this off, but give me a second.
Okay.
I see this all the time, or hear this all the time, where some people will take the splinter guard and say, hey, I'm going to move it out a little and recut it. Well, what happens is if it's hot out, what'll happen is that'll still move back. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have a little ledge right here. So I just replace the splinter guard every time I'm unsatisfied with the quality cut. Go ahead and pull that off for me, okay. And I'll start printing this. Okay. Okay, so one of the suggestions I'll make everybody out there is there's two sizes for the guide strips or the splinter guard. I always get the 5,000 millimeter one. That way there I have multiples.
Yeah.
Or I can also do my 3,000 rail I have in the SedgeTool shop. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull it out and I'm gonna bring it out here and I'm just gonna do a rough cut on it because I got plenty here.
Okay.
Go ahead and hold that for me. And what I'll do is I'll just grab it and I'll extend it a little and just take and cut. Okay?
All right.
That's how you start. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get in here, cameraman. I'm going to peel this back and expose that sticky back, okay? Pull it back, okay? And when you stick it down, don't stick it to the very end. There's no need to. What you want to do is bring it in just a hair like that. And what that will do, and as I pull this out and stick it, okay, I'm pushing it right up against this little aluminum bump. That way there, it will not shift, even in hot climates. Now, the reason I leave it short is because if this was proud and I go and set it like this, it would, you know what, pull away.
Yep.
So what we want to do here is we also want to cut it short, just like that. And that's no big. Now, here's the other thing I'll hear all the time. Mine is pulling up from side to side. Guess what? If I just left it like I laid it down there, it will. Mm-hmm. Because I went like this, look. I tacked it on like this. What you need to do is kind of like rolling out laminate countertops. You need to spread the pressure. So what I do is I get a rounded over piece of wood or a domino, and I make sure I have what? Apply pressure across the whole stickiness of that backing. Okay. And that way there, it will stay.
Nice. All right, Sedge, so this is one of my rails. I got a little creep up here on the end.
No worries. So what you do is you take a little super glue or CA glue. We're coming out of the summer months, and sometimes that still has a time to weep, and I just put a touch of super glue on there. CA glue, I hold it. Give it about 10 seconds, just hold it, and that'll be fine. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't build up. You can always scrape it off with a razor knife if need be.
Sounds good. All right, Sedge, so how do we cut the new splinter guard?
Okay, so what we could do is we could take this and put it on a piece and cut it while we're doing it. Or I'm going to cut it because I want to teach you the basic bones of cutting your splinter guard. And I've seen so many people do this incorrectly over the years.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, hopefully we can get over here. And what I want to point out is you see these two cams? I always tighten them up so it doesn't move, and I back them off ever so slightly. and there's no movement, okay? So you gotta keep going back and forth to make sure there's no slop in there. All right, now, if I started out here off the rail to cut it where I've seen so many people do it, guess what? There's slop in there. So I always leave the cams engaged, get in here, Chris, on this rib. And you'll see this. So what I did here, and I'm gonna have you plug it in for me, Big D. Remember, plug it towards a full quarter turn. I set my depth ever so slightly. I usually set it to about 10 millimeters. And Chris, when we get in here, always, always remember, you always start the saw up full speed and then plunge in. And then when I get to the end here, I bring it up full speed, and you can see, and Chris, come over here so you can see this. You see how it's offset now? Now it's absolutely perfect. If I would have cut to the end here and just gone like this, it would have wavered a little. So you can do that, okay, with your track. But the thing is don't expect to line it up perfectly out here on your witness marks.
Okay.
Whether it's 0 or anywhere between 90 and 45 degrees. That is essential to get, see that right there, that offset? That will be my perfect lineup line, as well as a perfect splinter-free cut, but let's check it out now.
All right.
Okay, we got the new splinter guard on there.
Yep.
We've cut it, exactly leaving the 2 cams, these green cams, on the rail, so we know our lineup's exact. But let's get back in here. Let's look at our original cut. You'll see the little chip out, okay? So let's check it out, and look at that cut.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely perfect.
All right, so I do everything that you tell me to do, but I'm still having some issues. It's not sliding as well on my saw.
Okay, so one of the things I've seen people over the years is they take all these lubricants, okay, and they spray it on this. The saw actually rides on these PFTE strips, polyfluorotetraethylene. The sole of the saw, okay, see this here, okay, and this here are what pinch on here when we tighten the cams. And you see what rides on top of this, very little rides on the rail. So if you spray it down, it's crazy. See these little bars right here? Those little bars are the only thing riding on there. It's kind of like a corrugated hand plane sole.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it's low surface tension on there. So what I like to coach people on is I love this stuff. It's 100% silicone free. It won't react with anything. But what I do is I spray a little in that channel just like that. And what I do is I let it dry. And then I come in here and I just buff it. Okay? And that way there, by the way, a little's a lot on there. So what we'll do is we'll put it back on here. You know we have them tight. Feel that.
Oh, wow.
And it's a lot better.
Yes, sir. All right, Sedge, so you get some marks on your LR32 rail.
Oh, pencil marks, yeah.
Yeah. So I did the same thing because obviously I learned it from you.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time getting all of it off. Like, what's the best way? I mean, I've tried to use a solvent, didn't work.
Okay, lacquer thin mineral spirits, I've tried them all. Until I got Crud Cutter. And I love showing people this because this stuff I think is like, a little's a lot like this. Look, you just put it on there. So I tell everybody, try mineral spirits, try this, try lacquer thinner. It won't come off. So sometimes I let it sit, but boy, this stuff just takes it right off.
All right, Sedge, so I have the old school rail connectors. What's the difference between the old and the new ones? Okay,
so I'm going to show you how to set up both.
Okay.
The old ones especially because they have these slotted screws. The reason they were slotted screws so you don't ding the rail if you put too much torque out.
Okay.
Okay, but I've seen 100 different ways of setting up these rails and there's only one way to set them up with the old style. So let's check it out.
All right.
So what I like to do with the old style with the slotted screws, and the reason I want to show you this is I know you have a pair of these, but there's a lot of people out there that still have these. They're still fantastic. You just got to know the way to set them up. Okay, so What I like to do is tighten the 2 screws underneath first on one side of the rail, and on the same side of the rail, tighten these up, okay? You don't have to over torque them.
Okay.
You see how I always offset? That way there, when I start to slide these together, this one slides in like this, and this one just feeds in like that. It's a lot easier. So when they're offset, you can slide them right in. Now the first thing, this is the mistake everybody makes. They butt these together. Well, you could have, see how I have dropped this one? You could have that, or these are not cut perfectly 90. So what I teach everybody is put just basically a folded business card in between there.
Okay.
And then what I'll do, and I've seen this a lot of the times, people will take a straight edge and put it on the back here. Okay, some people think a straight edge is a 2x4. Okay, no, but it doesn't matter about this back edge. What matters is this rib here. So if you have a good straight edge, which I do right here, you can do it this way. But not everybody has a handy dandy straight edge. So what I like to teach everybody is use the saw. And you remember these 2 cams right here?
Yep.
And remember, it's this rib that matters. So if I take this and span it across, Chris, I'm going to open this up. Get back in here. I'm going to open this up so everybody can see it. All right. See how this is the center? So I line it right up there, and I take these cams and I tighten them up. That brings this rib into alignment. So what I'll do is I'll tighten these 2 now, and there's no way that this can't be lined up perfect. And then what I'll do is I'll set this down and I'll bring this to the edge. Then I'll take this and tighten these screws from underneath, but I'm not putting a ton of torque on them.
All right, so how about the new ones?
Okay, good. It's easy. The new ones have made it wicked easy. We'll see how this is 1, and this one I'm going to turn around so you can see it. This one says 2. So we're going to put this in first. Okay. And this one goes in the bottom. So instead of taking the Tracksaw to bring them in alignment, it does it from the bottom because these don't go into the rail. They spread inside this bottom channel.
Oh, okay.
So as we tighten these like this, and I put the line right here, okay, and what's happening is these expansion joints are coming in, and there is 0.0 movement. It doesn't take a lot.
Wow.
But before I join them, I'm just going to slide this one in, and I'll offset it ever so slightly, so I have it already in there to tighten up after I tighten these 2 from the bottom. Okay. So once again, we'll slide them together like this. But I'll back it off ever so slightly because these aren't guaranteed to be cut at 90 at the factory. And then I'll just tighten these up. And the top one is the second one because it says 2. And what that is also known as the stiffener. And I'll just come in here and tighten it up. It has to be aligned because that is where the bottom of that groove of the saw runs. And it has been aligned because it expanded this way. So Big D, there you go. That is the basics of getting your track set up and some tips and tricks on how to make sure it's connected perfectly in line. Now I want to make one more thing that I want to point out. Chris, come in here. You see how they're connected now? I can actually cut all the way through because my cams still stay intact. So sometimes you can cut it all the way through as long as this is in line. So as we always say, from the SedgeTool shop,
be positive.
Stay sharp. Wicked sharp.